Mogul Mail. We don't have to watch every Mogul Mail. I want to watch the new the new Man in the Cave. There's a new internet historian.
Big divorce dad energy.
In the state of Kentucky, there is a cave that every now and then demands a sacrifice. January 30th, 1925. A man walks towards the cave with a kerosene lamp in his hand. He hangs up his jacket and ducks into a 5-foot opening. The inside of the cave is narrow. He has to drop down on his hands and knees, crawling through a passageway filled with jagged rocks and choking dust. Then down a chute he had cleared out months earlier. All of the daylight is gone from here, and this lantern is his only source of light. Ignoring the loose limestone rocks perched directly above him, he is now 100 feet in, and here he reaches the turnaround room. Now they call this the turnaround room because this is the juncture where even experienced cavers say, no thanks, and turn around. Because to continue on means going through this, the squeeze, a gap in the stone of only 9 inches. For reference, here's a subway sub. Going through, he would look exactly like this. His arms will need to be completely at their side, and he will need...
I mean, at a certain point, you just gotta be like, nah, nope, nah, done, not gonna happen. The moment that I have to, like, functionally dislocate my fucking shoulders to be able to fit into something is the moment where I'm not gonna be a part of it. Also, shouts out to Johnny Harris. Turns out when he was welcoming different cultures into his own home, and when he was welcoming the CIA into his own home, when he was welcoming the World Economic Forum into his own home, he also ended up welcoming an Emmy into his own home. So good job to Johnny Harris. We love to see it. Friend of the show, Johnny. That's right. He won a motherfucking Emmy, boys. He won a motherfucking Emmy for his New York Times opinion. Here it is. Let's take a look.
Manco.
I made it. I feel very out of place in this fancy room. I feel like I should be in a, I should not be in a fancy room right now with like tiger patterned chairs and stained glass, because I'm a dirty man, and I need to quickly not be a dirty man. So I'm gonna go into that shower that I feel like I don't deserve. I'm too dirty for that shower. Don't let him in.
Hasan likes QCL netful.
There she is. I'm not in Switzerland anymore. I'm in New York City. I'm going to the Emmys. I had to buy this outfit today from H&M because I was a sweaty, dirty man. But I'm going to the Emmys now.
Outstanding news analysis, editorial, and opinion. It's for this important video I made last year for the Times. Really lucky to get to work with the amazing journalists there. Also, shout out to PC Holtz, who edited, animated, AP'd this. Liberal hypocrisy is fueling the American inequality. Here's how. Mystifying class distinctions for a neoliberal institutional legacy publisher is gonna fucking always give you an Emmy. Knock it right out of the park. Okay? As long as you are operating. I mean, he has good videos. He's a great editor. I watch a lot of his videos. I have mentioned that I like a lot of his videos. I mean, his agreements, I do not agree. I mean, his ideology, I do not agree with. But I think he's a great editor. I didn't say demystifying. I said mystifying class distinctions, which is true. If you had initiative, I could get you an Emmy within the year. Yeah, dude. What are we going to do?
Brother.
Exclusively talk about veganism and how actually we should be able to do ethical capitalism through stakeholder capitalism? Mike from PA says he's trash when he watches every video this guy's ever made. I watch a lot of his videos as well. I think he is an honest liberal that is further to the left than the average liberal, which is why his commentary can come across to the rest of the liberals as edgy while still maintaining the safe patina. Or sorry, the edgy patina, the edgy patina while still maintaining like the safety of the confines of capitalism is still the best. But as far as like video making goes, he is fucking great. He's great. He's a really good video maker. I mean, I've said this so many times. Are you getting the Emmy for the Liver King pod today, or will Ethan get it? Anyway, let's continue.
So, I got an Emmy. Inside that bag is an Emmy. Yeah, and it happened. The video that I made with the New York Times last year won. And now I'm really tired. And I'm going home to go to bed because I'm so sleepy. But I'm excited that this got recognized.
That's pretty crazy that he won an Emmy.
Hassle.
Most people used to sell their Oscars, so they stopped making them out of pure gold. Better Call Saul doesn't have a single Emmy. Yeah, get wrecked.
Need to exhale so that he
Cheers.
can reduce the size of his torso. Gradually, bit by bit, he disappears into the hole. His clothes are caught on sharp gypsum crystals, hooking into him and threatening to hold him in place, but using his feet like paddles.
What compels someone to do this? Can we just get back to white people shit? What compels someone to do this? Why? The moment that like the hole is too small, you're not a rat, you're a human. What compels you to go into this tiny hole? There's something wrong with people, man.
He pushes through.
I hope my GF
He
stays
reaches
with me
a
after
wider
meeting you in
opening
TwitchCon.
at the other side, then crawls forward towards a ledge. Illuminated here is a 10-foot drop. A rope is already secured around a boulder, which allows him to rappel down. His worn-out leather shoes touch the ground. This is as far as he can go, and it is time for work to begin.
I mean, isn't he cooked at this point? He can't even go back up.
What he is working on is another opening. At the moment, it's too small for anyone to fit through, but he will chip away at it until he can shove himself right through the other side. Because on the other side is this.
The top of the hour ad break. That's what's on the other side. At the top of the hour, there's a 60-second ad break. If you no longer want to see those fucking ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get one free Prime subscription a month. Favorite broadcaster, the smoothest debater, the absolute best beta in the business. Right? What a fucking transition. Oh, mate, he's done it again. It Boone, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Adnaval, thank you for the 5 gifted subs, mate. It Boone, thank you for the 10 gifted subs, mate. Allowing a total of 15 people to no longer see the ads. Here's the 1-minute ad break coming to you now. Fly Guy with the 10 gifted subs. Here's the 1-minute ad break now. This is why they call me the masturbator. Because I'm the master debater.
Hi,
A
handsome.
magnificent and
This is why you won't get an Emmy. That's hurtful. That's hurtful. I don't think that's the only reason, though.
Otherworldly cave structure that will be irresistible to tourists.
Wait, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? Top of the hour bot? Dankies, 9 chatters rated this ad segue a 3.8 out of 10. Good attempt, Hossie Sag. 52 chatters rated this ad segue an average of... What just happened?
12 months of enlightenment. Thanks, Arjan.
Arc to Freedom, thank you for the 5, get the subs. What the fuck? How long has this been going on? I haven't even noticed it. It started at 9.9. I'm getting performance ratings, dude. What the fuck? Incredible, Hossie. Glad. 52 chatters rated this ad segue an average of 2,124 out of 10. Incredible, Hossie. Glad.
31 months. Amused.
Out of context. Ray fans name. Okay, why are we are no longer renaming what Valkyrie calls her community. Y'all are making it so that it's impossible for me to collaborate with anyone. I swear to God. Stop. Quarterly performance ratings for
22
Azan.
months. Thanks for the hours of education and content has.
Every day for months, he has been removing rocks from this crevice. To him,
Wait, how did he get out?
this is all just routine. So he eases further into the gap. Carefully, he contorts his body through. Rocks
Subject.
compress the sides of his torso so close that his arms are pinned to the side of his body. He once again paddles his feet to inch down. Then, about halfway, he stops. The lantern. It's starting to dim.
27 months.
He will need to go all the way back to the surface to refuel the thing. He sighs. He slowly shuffles back out, pushing the lantern with his shoulder. Then, oh no. Ding, crack, darkness. He has knocked over the lamp.
You're in the rookie hole, dude!
And it has broken. Now, the man didn't panic. He had been caught in the dark before, and he could make his way back by feel alone. So he continues worming out, leveraging his foot against what he thinks
Respect my
is
man.
the cave wall. But that is not the cave wall. That is in fact a rock protruding from the ceiling. As soon as he puts his weight against the rock, it breaks loose. A solid piece weighing 15 kilograms lands directly on his ankle. It aches. But he's okay. It doesn't feel as though his ankle is broken, just badly bruised and caught underneath the rock. So he shuffles to move the rock away. Suddenly, gravel. A lot of gravel. It falls onto his feet,
All right, he's dead.
his legs, his torso, and the weight of it all forces the wedged rock deeper into the gap underneath his foot. Pinned. He tries to push forward. He cannot. He tries to inch backwards. He cannot. He is stuck.
Dead.
This is Sand Cave. This man is Floyd Collins. He is trapped in absolute darkness, 60 feet deep below the earth. All of his limbs held in place at the very bottom of this.
No. I mean, see, here's what it is, okay? I'm sorry to say this, but you fucked around and you found out, okay? Fucked around and you found out. I can't, for the life of me, figure out a way or a reason to do that, okay? You literally fucked around. Why would you fuck around like that? Too horny. You wanted the kavusi, and the kavusi collapsed on you, okay?
But before I tell you what happens next, ad time. Speaking of people trapped in a cave, World of Tanks. World of Tanks is not only the best... It's too late, kid. Take care of my family for me. No. Get it. Ad over. Collins is still in the dark, unable to move. His left arm was pinned underneath his torso, his right wedged by the rock ceiling above. Beneath him, sharp crystal shards dug into his skin. Ice thawed, traced across the ceiling, and dripped down directly onto his face, pooling underneath him. The water was...
That's not the worst. Wait, isn't that like literally, isn't that called Chinese water torture? But it's not the worst because at least he has like...
8 months of stolen
at least he can get
go.
like, water. Is it Japanese water torture? I thought it was... it doesn't matter. It's a type of torture. But... at least he has water so he can survive for longer. No, that's not waterboarding. Waterboarding is not torture, my friend. It's called enhanced interrogation, just like the immigrant detention facilities are just overflow facilities, and they're not actually just slave camps for migrants that we have trapped. Okay? And that's called something different. All right? When the Chinese do it, we call it torture. When we do it, and we do it worse than the water torture dripping onto your fucking forehead like that, drip, 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 drip. What we end up doing is we take a little washcloth, we put it over your face, and then we put a fucking gallon of water down your goddamn throat to simulate what it's like to be not being able to breathe underwater, to simulate what it's like to drown, okay? Now, that's called enhanced interrogation, and it was very much a failure across the board. Not a singular piece of workable intel was conducted under the American espionage activities that they did at black sites, which no longer exists is what the government says, but they still certainly do exist. Even the Chicago Police Department had one, that they had an operation under Rahm Emanuel's mayoral rule, but that's an entirely separate subject. Let's get back to the video itself.
A consistent 54 degrees. Floyd tried to breathe calmly in the concentrated dark. When he did attempt to shuffle, more gravel and rocks would tumble from above and pile onto his feet, so nothing would work. He clawed at the cave walls till his fingertips were bloody, and he realized that there was only one option left. Call out for help. But wait. Who is Floyd, and why did he even go into a dangerous cave? Floyd has been exploring the caves of Kentucky since he was merely 6 years old. And as he grew up, he gained a reputation for being a very daring caver. He would dive into some hole on one side of town and emerge miles away on someone else's property.
Conspiracy Theory Thursday, literally not a single thing I said was a conspiracy theory, for the record. But I think you know that already because you're saying waterboarding and you're saying Guantanamo.
Sup?
He grew up and he became...
But that's understandable, chatter. American war crimes are so horrific that a lot of normal people are like, there's no fucking way they're that gruesome and brutal and awful. Also, Cancer can wait for the Queen. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Cancer can wait for the Queen. You're right about that. And if it can't, then guess what? RIP to the Queen and RIP to you as well, my friend. Thank you, though, for the 5 gifted subs. Here is the continuation of the fucking video.
Embroiled in the Kentucky Cave Wars. Now, there's way too much to go into here, but the summary version is, there's this huge network of interconnected caves called Mammoth Caves. It's actually the largest cave system in the world. And there's a city right in the middle of it. Cave City, real name. So, of course, there are dozens of cave entrances on private property all over the place. Now, farmland in this region has very poor soil, and things do not grow well here. So, cave tourism as a source of income quickly became the prominent thing. However, a problem. There are a very large number of caves, but there are only a limited number of tourists. So competition rapidly escalated. Visit my cave. No. Visit my cave. Big signs were erected saying, tourists, come to me. Mine is definitely open. Mine is the best. But then competitors would respond by saying, hey, by the way, we're open, but don't go to that one over there. It's really shitty. In fact, it's dangerous. This kept going further. By the end, they were blocking off the trail to each other's property, beating each other in the streets, and hiring people called cappers who would dress up as policemen and tell tourists, no, you can't go in there. That what? No, it's illegal. Despite the fierce competition, Floyd found a cave on his property and he started advertising it to tourists. Of course, very few came. All right, he thought, what if I found something really special and unique? Then surely people would have to come to my cave to see it. So he kept exploring and exploring.
Bro, Kentucky is so funny that there is just literally nothing. So they're like, bro, look at this cave. Man, these people really had nothing going on in their lives other
Can't
than...
go in there.
They had nothing going on. They had this and racism. You know what I mean? Which kind of makes sense. Like at that point, there's just, you have this, you have look at the cave, and you have look at racism.
And he started advertising it to tourists. Of course, very few came. All right, he thought, what if I found something really special and unique? Then surely people would have to come to my cave.
A cave is the absence of stuff in the ground. A cave is nothing. Literally. Look at this hole I found. It's like a 5-year-old, dude. Look at this hole I found.
Cave to see it. So he kept exploring and exploring until he found this hollow. It was filled with big gypsum crystals, and when you were in there, it felt like a completely alien world. But it was barely accessible. This small tunnel is the only way in.
Hassle.
He would need to dig for months to open it up to tourists, but he knew he could do it. Back to the competition. They knew the value of this cave. They knew the potential, they wanted it for themselves, and they wanted Collins gone. One time, 5 of them just wandered onto Floyd's property and demanded he hand over the lease.
1 year.
When he refused,
A nice hole you got there would be a shame if somebody plugged it. And by somebody, I mean me.
they just started beating the shit out of him. This only stopped when Floyd's brother, Homer, marched out with a shotgun and chased them all off. But Floyd was not deterred. He spent 12 hours a day, every day, for months, clearing gravel and stone, chipping away at that passage. He would open it up to tourists, make his cave an incredible attraction, and make his dreams come true.
Except no, it didn't happen because he got stuck.
Is anyone there?
So there's Floyd in the dark, yelling out for help. He's at the start of a very
He did Minecraft IRL. No, he didn't, because in Minecraft IRL, you know not to dig down, okay? These are problems that occur in Minecraft IRL. If he played Minecraft, he would have known better.
tiring loop. Sleep, wake, yell. Sleep, wake, yell. Hours passed. His voice gave in. Arms tingled numb. Pain radiating up his ankle. Here he remained in the dark for the next 23 hours. Quickly you might wonder, how come no one's come for him after 23 hours? Well, Sand Cave resides on a 200-acre farm. There are several homes on this property with other families. One of them, of course, is Colin's house, where Floyd's father, Lee, resides. Now, Lee and Floyd constantly get into fights about how to run things. Lee wants his son to concentrate on farming, and Floyd wants to concentrate on cave tourism. Arguments would often get heated. And Lee was also a bit of a drunk. It was doubtful that he would even notice if his son Floyd was missing. Also not helping things, Floyd regularly lodged at 2 other homes on the farm. So when he didn't return to one host, they would presume that he was staying with the other. And, even worse than that, he had recently spent 30 hours in a cave. So disappearing for this length of time wasn't seen as abnormal. Regardless, around the 23-hour mark, a few locals started to suspect that, hey, something might be wrong, and they went to check up on him. And here, they spotted his jacket, still hung up. Unusual. They went deeper. However, there was only one person small enough to make it as far as the turnaround room. This was a 17-year-old Jewel Estes. He refused to go into the squeeze, but it was close enough to call Colin's name. And Collins yelled back. Estes emerges from the cave.
Okay, we know he's trapped, and we know where he is.
So, locals started to gather outside. Out of my way, say a bunch of men who would each show up and take turns heading into the cave in an attempt to reach Collins. But once they reached the turnaround room,
Nope.
they would fail
I
to
agree.
reach him, emerging from the cave, soaked in mud and cursing. Out of my way, they would say as they were heading in the reverse direction. So a few more hours passed. Word would spread around town. Dozens of locals from Cave City started to gather outside.
Floyd in the cave. Floyd in the cave. Oh my god.
Subprimal energy.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This presents an opportunity. An industrious mind would use this moment to sell tickets to see the man stuck in the cave. Oh my god. Please tell me, instead of bringing him outside, they started selling tickets to see the guy in the cave. Oh my god.
Over in Louisville, Floyd's 22-year-old brother, Homer, he gets a phone call.
Hello? I see. My brother. He's trapped in a cave? I'm on my way.
Homer jumps on a coach and makes his way to Floyd's cave. Homer struts up to the scene. Dozens of men are standing around outside. He ignores them all and marches right into the cavern, still wearing his city
You're an okay
clothes.
guy.
He makes his way in, down the chute, through the narrowing passages, down on his hands and knees towards the turnaround room. And when he arrives, he does not hesitate. He squeezes into the hole, scrambles his way through to the ledge on the other side. He sees Floyd below and slides down to meet him.
Floyd!
Sup?
It probably wasn't that casual.
Oh, thank God you're here.
Homer took a moment to shine his light around the area and assess the situation. It was not good. This rock formation is going to prove almost impossible to work around. Alright, so let's have a look. Floyd is here. The rock is here, pinning his ankle. He's surrounded by rubble, and there's a pocket of gravel above him ready to fall. However, because this opening is so small, there are only two viable ways to reach into
Chatter's saying
and to have
Saddam,
when
you
you
guys
are
are so stupid, but also true. This is exactly how Saddam evaded the American Department of Defense, okay? It does look like the Saddam hole.
Floyd and that gravel. Option 1, the most obvious, feet first. But if you do this, you have to kind of squat, and your own torso obstructs access to the rubble. Otherwise, option 2, come down head first. That will give you better access, but you're trying to move hundreds of pounds of gravel upside down. Worse yet,
I don't understand why they're not using excavation tools at this point to like make the hole larger.
barely an inch around Collins on either side, so good luck getting your arm down near Floyd's ankle to actually free him from the wedged rock. Homer calls back to the less daring rescuers standing behind him.
1925? Yo, that's crazy. They didn't have a shovel in 1925? Or like a pickaxe? Or any kind of blunt object to be able to like knock the dirt around? That's so crazy. Know nothing of caving and it shows us on? Bro, use a fucking screwdriver. Use a knife. Anything. A fucking rope. Were ropes invented in 1925? Did they have ropes? Were they already invented?
Hasan, the kids miss you.
What's
Please
happening?
come home, Saj.
Quickly, some food and drink.
They send it through. He hand feeds his brother a pint of coffee and a total of 9 sausage sandwiches.
Feeling better?
Much better.
Then, Homer went to task. He began
Lovely
removing
jackass.
rocks and gravel, tiny scoop at a time, with the help of an old syrup can.
Thank God he's like smart enough to.
For the next 8 hours he toiled, first with hands, then, once enough was cleared, using a crowbar to scoop behind his brother. Scraping away.
Luckily, crowbars and cans were invented in 1925. So there you go. Luckily, there was some tools. Everyone in the chat was like, Hasan, shut the fuck up. It's too narrow to use any kind of tool whatsoever. Suck my dick, chat.
Sharp protrusions as he went. It was slow progress. Virtually futile. As soon as he removed one rock or scoop of gravel, another would tumble from above and land in the new absence. And it was exhausting work. By sunrise, Homer's arms and back were knackered. His lungs burned.
Chat, I wonder
He
how
was
you
losing
smell
hope.
right now.
Homer emerged hours later, shivering violently, skin bruised from his fingertips, but the cave barely yielded at all. However, something new. By the time Homer reached outside, he was greeted by a sea of approximately 100 men and women standing around, drinking, squabbling, and talking big game about how they too were going to save Floyd. The press was also present to help people gawk from afar. Now, Homer recuperated at a small tent near the cave's mouth.
I knew it.
Brain rot.
Strangers immediately crowded around him to ask innocent but, frankly, frustrating questions, and offer unsolicited, obvious advice, as well as wildly impractical solutions. He should try untying his shoes, said one. No, we should send him down with a contortionist who's got a mallet and a chisel. We should jerk him off, right guys? Alright, I made that third guy up, but you get the idea. And they started to argue with each other about their plans. Hey, how about using dynamite? One clique formed, insisting that it was a great idea. And another saying, no, the explosion will kill him, and the weight of the new rocks will surely crush him. They fought for a while until they started arguing about gas torches.
Bro, this is literally Twitch streaming. This is open market Twitch streaming. When you have a 10-minute follow mode. Okay?
Keep up the good work.
I can
Hasan.
suggest like the most obvious thing, the most obvious problem, and Twitch chat will be like coming up with the most like ass backwards fucking grab your left ear from the right side solution. Straight up, this is Twitch chat. Let's just put mustard on him.
Which will cook him or asphyxiate him, or the gas will poison him. But by far the most common suggestion, of course, was amputation. Never mind that the foot itself was unreachable, and never mind what the blood loss and shock would do to Floyd's weakened body, and never minding even more that Floyd was strongly reluctant to the idea.
Whatever you do, don't cut my foot off.
All of the squabble would not have gotten on Homer's nerves, except that not one of them would just brave the damn cave and continue shoveling away the gravel. The formula was always the same. Brave heroes go in with food and supplies, then reach the turnaround room and immediately lose their nerve, then dump the food just outside the hole, and then return back outside and go, oh, absolutely. No, he says, thanks for the food. Thank you so much. Yum, yum. No one would go through that squeeze. Dozens more men would try.
Wait, what? Okay.
One would go through that squeeze.
Brother, that is the size of a lantern. Yeah, no shit. They probably didn't even realize where the hole was. My dick won't fit in that, brother.
Dozens more men would try. All of them would fail. February 2nd, 9 a.m. So far, Homer has been the only person to have reached Floyd. And that would continue to be true until here we are at the Louisville Courier. There's a spirited young newshawk named William Miller. He's talking to his boss, and he's trying to convince him that it's a great idea for him to cover the story of the man trapped in the cave.
Listen up, boss. I'm hearing talk of a man in a cave. He's stuck down there, and I want to get down there too. Get to the nitty-gritty, you hear?
This is an opportunity for some good PR, Miller. I'm in. But I want us to sponsor that rescue. Picture this. Man saved from cave by Louisville Courier, the finest newspaper in the state. That'll drum up plenty of business.
24-carat idea, boss. I'll make it happen. I'll get down there toot sweet.
So off Miller goes to Floyd's cave. Back over at the cave, Homer is sitting outside trying to recuperate as Miller wanders up. He glares at the man in his city clothes and answers every question with either a grunt or a one-word answer.
Yeah. Sure.
Finally, he gestures to Sand Cave.
Listen, you want more information? The hole's right behind me. Why don't you go take a look yourself?
Now, Miller is only 21, but he is a slender and determined man. He takes on the challenge. So he removes his suit, drapes himself in coveralls, and grabs a lamp. Miller slowly enters the cave. He finds himself stepping in puddles and having to correct his balance against the ever-softening walls. These were accumulating problems thanks to the gawkers outside who had lit campfires all around the entrance. That caused snowmelt, and the stable environment of the cave is starting to shift. But Miller makes it further than most. And all that's left is that final squeeze, and he's there. He stops. He takes a moment and decides to call out to Floyd.
Floyd!
Hearing there is someone on the other side, he feels ashamed not to try, so he closes his eyes and moves forward. His slender figure begins inching through. The crystal gypsum cuts into his elbows and tugs at his clothes. He gets snagged. He's spluttering through the pools of muddy water. He stops, collects himself, and pushes on. He can barely inhale. If he gets stuck in here, he can only hope that someone else can come in from behind and pull him out by the legs. But eventually, he makes it through. Fantastic. He's now standing on the edge of a 10-foot pit, and he clumsily bumbles his way down. He sat right next to Floyd, ready to interview him. But Floyd didn't really answer any of his questions.
That's insane.
In fact, he was incoherent.
Most normal journalist, by the way. Most normal journalist. He's like, I came down here to interview you. Yeah, no, save you? Nope. Imagine being stuck in a fucking cave for like multiple days. But then also on top of that, now you have to literally listen to a fucking journalist with content brain.
At the moment, he is sitting in a pool of water that is 12 degrees, slowly sapping his body temperature. He is dying from exposure. The cold is diminishing Floyd's mental faculties, and he can barely make sentences. So Miller took a few mental notes, and he left. He worked his way back through the squeeze, past the turnaround room, and out into the daylight. He is covered in mud and scratches and numb head to toe. And when Homer saw, his hope reignited. Someone else had made it to Floyd.
You and me. Together, we can get Floyd out of there.
If Miller hadn't gone to that cave, there's a good chance that Floyd's story would have remained an obscure footnote in the back pages.
21-month on
But the
month's
interviews
boyfriend.
and first-person accounts gave the audience a glimpse of something real. Fear, hope, desperation, the full range. And so from Los Angeles to New York, Floyd's story was picked up everywhere and described the Kentucky man's plight in sensational detail. It was also the era when radio became a regular feature for regular Americans. Radio allowed something new, hourly updates, letting people get engrossed into the story. So, mostly thanks to Miller, the story of Floyd over the next week would grow and grow, seemingly frothing over into every aspect of American life. The press at large would be clamoring over each other for every little extra scrap of detail they could get about Floyd. And everybody wanted to know, will this man make it?
Okay, at this point, the brother's kind of cucked for not making money off this. Yeah, I'll say it. Okay? Like, come on, bro. Everyone wants to know. Everyone wants a piece.
Back outside the cave, someone new enters the scene. Lieutenant Robert Burden, a thin but strong 33-year-old Louisville firefighter. Like Miller, he was able to navigate the passages of the cave and brave the squeeze. Scratched up pretty good and drenched in cold, muddy water, he managed to get through. He grabbed the rope and confidently lowered himself to Floyd's position. It was not an optimistic sight. Floyd's condition was deteriorating.
Okay.
Well, we've got a heck of a problem here, but I think I can get you out with a rope.
Floyd nods in approval.
Go on.
We might just pull your bloody leg off.
Just pull my leg off then. Get me out of here.
Burden returned to the surface and faced the crowd. He announced.
We will attempt a rope pull.
The crowd murmured. It was dangerous. It would certainly break his foot and could.
That's so crazy that it's been like a week. And this is the time. It's been a week and they're finally like, maybe we should do the fucking rope thing. Thank God. Thank God ropes are now invented, okay? Wasn't invented before, but thank God they're now invented. So that's why they're like, yeah, let's do the fucking rope thing, mate. You know what I'm fucking talking about? Let's do the fucking rope thing, mate.
Altogether pull it off. If there are jagged...
There's a reason why Kentucky keeps voting for Mitch McConnell. Yeah, bro, even in 1925, these motherfuckers were on some dummy shit.
rocks, you'll fill at the poor man. Amongst the crowd, a doctor stepped forward. A rope pull could stretch his internal organs and cause them to rupture. You'll kill him. But Floyd is dying of exposure down there. The situation is becoming desperate. Burden put caution to the side.
The time for strategy is over.
Bro, Kentucky invented fried chicken and that's it. Since then, nothing good, okay? They got one W in a history of 500 years of just dumb shit, okay?
Now we try brute.
I guess bourbon too. Tubbo! I DM'd you and you didn't DM me back when I said, do you want to do... Oh, you did DM me back. Never mind. I said, sure, man. But then we started the Internet Historian video. Tubbo, we're learning about Kentucky history right now. What? What the fuck just happened? Okay, this is made up, I think.
Floyd, we're here. We're gonna get you out of here.
After 79 hours in the cold water, he is delirious, fading in and out of consciousness. Homer
It might be real. We don't know enough about Kentucky. That might have been real.
gave his brother some coffee and fed him a couple of ham sandwiches. That warms him up and gives him a bit more energy, and he comes back to lucidity.
Oh, much better.
I'm gonna put the special harness around you. Burden and Miller, they're here too. We got 3 more boys right up the cave.
Honestly, the most respectable brother in existence. Marat would have left my ass down there and probably would have made money off of me. Straight up. He would have been he literally would have been yeah, your dumbass is stuck down there. Can't do it. Sorry. Too busy making satellites and stuff.
And they're all ready to pull as hard as they can to get you out of here.
Floyd was frightened.
I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna hurt.
He gave his brother some whiskey and a strong sedative to calm his nerves, and also to help him withstand the shock in case his foot is destroyed. Floyd took the opportunity to appreciate being surrounded by friends and family.
Go on. Do it.
All right, strap him up.
Homer tied the harness around Colin's chest and knotted the rope.
Ready?
Above, Miller is crouched at the top of the pit.
Ready?
Burden clenches the cord from further up the cave.
3,
The rope goes taut.
2,
Do it.
1.
Oh!
Instinctively, Floyd gasps. The force of 6 men pulled against the clutches of the cave. Floyd began to scream. His body was being pulled up from the rubble. The gravel was beginning to shift. Burden clenched his teeth.
Pull harder!
Floyd screamed harder as well. Now, Floyd was trapped in a supine position, but the direction of the rope caused an upwards force that wrenched him vertically. His torso was being compressed and
Wait,
bent.
that's sick. He's getting taller too. That's like a lengthening surgery. Win-win. It's a double whammy. That's what we call it in the industry.
Against the ceiling of the trap. It would kill him. Floyd's screaming intensified, and through gasps was begging them to stop. The screams filled the echoing cave, but it did not stop. The agony continued. On and on, with no progress.
Enough! Enough! You guys are killing him!
Homer pulled in the opposite direction to give his brother some reprieve. Somehow, Homer mustered the strength to altogether wrench the cord from the other men's hands. The rope went slack. Homer, Floyd, and the rope lay limp on the cave floor, panting and exhausted. No progress had been made.
Okay, maybe the rope thing wasn't that smart. Never mind.
Your joke about trans people
The cave
choosing
would
names.
not let this
I
man
tried
go.
calling myself Gertrude and
The
Agnes,
futility
and there's
of
no
the...
way I could do that at Hasanabi.
I love your joke about trans people choosing names. I tried calling myself Gertrude. Oh, fuck, I missed it. Where is it?
The situation sank in, and all they could do was leave for now and reassess. Everybody was shaken by the experience. Burden fainted as he crawled towards the exit. Most of the other men had to be carried away. Outside, the crowd had grown to 200. They buzzed and asked useless questions, and Homer walked dejectedly past.
Isn't the problem that they're like pulling him not in the appropriate direction? Like if they were pulling him first in this direction and then up, right? Then that's it. Like he would be safe, but they would need, you know.
He sat by thinking what he could do. The cause seemed hopeless.
Homer?
Then, someone showed up who could turn things around. He looked up to see a childhood friend of both his and Floyd's, Johnny Gerald. Gerald knew more about cave rescues than most.
No shot. Two first names? That's sus, bro. I'd be like, turn around, Johnny. Don't need you here, okay? Don't need your feedback. Don't need your input. Sorry, we're not doing that.
In fact, just that summer prior, he had...
John Gerald, what is it? Ginger Heimel, what? Ginger Heimel Schmidt? What is the fucking song? Oh no, that's John Jacob. I'm not American. Fuck you.
Had helped untangle Floyd from a different snag. He was just the man for the job.
Butchered that so.
right.
I don't think I got a single name. I don't think I got a single name right in that, dude. I think I literally fucked up every name on that except for John. You know, John Jangle.
Let me go see him. Well, look who it is.
Floyd perked up immediately, thrilled to see Gerald.
All right, let's see what we can do.
Gerald jumped down. For the next 3 hours, Gerald went back to the original plan of prying away rocks. His stamina was good, and progress was surprisingly good as well. For several more hours, he continued, just moving stone after stone. New one would fall in its place, and he'd move that one too. By midnight, he had enough room to shift position and clear some of the gravel that was at...
Bro, no fucking way, dude. Ain't no fucking way, dude! Entering Dua Lipa and exiting the Daily Show? That's messed up.
At each side of Floyd's body. Gerald would spend several more hours scooping. And it worked. For the first time, Floyd's torso was now available. then his hips, his upper thigh. For the first time in over 90 hours, Floyd was able to wiggle his arms, his hips, and even that trapped right leg, though it was very painful to do. In that one session, Gerald managed to move a half-ton of rock, but there was still a lot more to go. And that rock by his foot was still holding him in place. By 2 a.m., Gerald was spent. He needed rest, and he was ready to head back outside.
Floyd, tomorrow, you're gonna be a free man.
Now here you might think that things will become straightforward. They did not. Now that space had been cleared, Burden became convinced that if he could get down that passage again, he could free Floyd with another rope pull, fate deciding with both feet or just one. But when Burden tried to enter the cave again, he was sternly rebuffed by the locals. They were playing gatekeeper. They had been specifically instructed to not let anyone in, and they were especially opposed to Burden making another rope pull after word spread about the disaster of the first attempt. He tried to reason with them.
Let me try the rope pull again. It'll work this time.
They wouldn't let up. Instead, they shouted obscenities and shoved him in the other direction.
Gatekeeping ass chat, dude. These are literally Twitch chatters, okay? Straight up.
Meanwhile, Gerald and Homer are incapacitated with exhaustion, and Miller was busy filing some paperwork for the Louisville Courier. Nobody else had the ability or the authority to take action, so Floyd spent all of that morning alone.
Hello? Is anyone there?
Where is my
Help? Hey! Anyone out there?
Word spread about Floyd. Miller's reporting had been picked up by the AP Newswire, and they distributed it amongst their hundreds of partnered newspapers. For Miller, it would be the biggest moment of his career. But he didn't stop to pay it mind. He spent the day hatching a rescue plan. Miller descended into the cave and set to work. When he entered, he found that the team before him had strung light bulbs all through the cavern, leading all the way down to Floyd. Very handy. A bulb was also put around Floyd's neck to keep him warm and make sure that he was never again left in the dark. Miller popped down to Floyd.
Ah, Floyd, fancy seeing you here, buddy.
Reusing that syrup tin, he started offloading gravel into buckets. Those buckets were then passed up and down the cavern. And so it went on for the next 2 hours. Miller stopped for a break. He took some bread, milk, and whiskey, and sharing it with Floyd, they started to get...
Okay, am I fucking insane, or do they just not drink water back then? Like, every single piece of... Like, they're like, hey, okay, here's a cracker and some milk. Here's some whiskey. Like, the first thing that they offered him was coffee. Like, when his brother Homer came up and was like, well, here you go. Here's some coffee.
In the jungle XQCL.
Did they not invent water yet? What's going on in Kentucky?
Get to talking. Floyd had been in that cave for over 100 hours now, and seeing everyone working together, Floyd was overcome with a sense of hope and relief, and so he began spilling his heart out to Miller. Here is what he is quoted in the newspaper.
I believed I would go to heaven. I can feel that I'm to be taken out alive and with both my feet. I kept thinking, what would happen if the rock above me would fall?
At Hasanabi,
It caused me to shudder.
Chicken tenders.
I kept thinking to drive my mind to something else, but it wasn't much use. I couldn't do much to help those who came to help me, but I knew that a lot of people were willing to do all in their power. It gave me courage. Tuesday morning, I thought to myself, 4 days down here, and no nearer freedom than I was on the first day. How will it end? Will I get out? I couldn't think of it. I have faced death before. It doesn't frighten me, but it is so long. Tell them I am not going to give up. Tell them I'm going to fight and be patient and never forget them.
Meanwhile, Floyd's story kept growing. Pedestrians would gather around corner store windows to read the latest bulletins. The press began using giant typefaces, commonly only reserved for declarations of war. Churches in all of the nearby counties were holding services for Floyd. Theaters even...
That hole smells like piss? Brother, that hole smells like fucking... Okay, that hole smells way worse than Liver King, okay? I'll tell you that much. You know his ass is farting, pooping, pissing, everything in there, dude. He was the early streamer. A content monkey for the rest of America to watch as he pissed, shat, and farted himself.
Interrupted their shows to update the audience. Now, at the time, President Coolidge was in charge, and his Secretary of Commerce was a geologist, Herbert Hoover. Now, Mr. Hoover followed the story very closely, and so it was likely that the president did too. Even Congress paused session to ask about the latest news from Sand Cave. By the end, the Floyd Collins incident would explode into the third largest non-political story between World War I and World War II.
Oh my God.
All of this excitement brought an inundation of people to Cave City. Old population, 690. Yawn. New population, 10,000.
Oh my God.
Hotels ran out of food. Residents turned their homes...
This is like when Soda Pop moves to Austin and then everyone's like, damn, bro, I'm trying to fucking get a piece of that.
...into makeshift hotels, charging sizable premiums to let people nap in their bathtubs. The banks quickly ran out of on-hand cash, and 4,500 automobiles impatiently sat backed up for 2 miles from 20 different states to drive onto the Collins farm and turn their pristine green pastures into swampy parking lots.
It's kind of wild that people were like, damn, dude, this story's so poppin', we got to go to Kentucky. Like, I would not go to Kentucky, even if this shit was popping off. You know what I mean? I'd be like, people were so bored back then, dude. I swear to God. We know white supremacy was playing a fundamental role in American history and societal development. But honestly, I had never considered that, like, racism out of boredom could have been one of the other reasons. Until I saw this. People were so fucking bored that in the middle of, no TikTok back then, in the middle of like World War I and World War II, they were like, yo, let's go check out this cave in Kentucky.
Pogo. Pogo.
It's like, all we're doing out here is racism and the Great Depression. Let's go take a look at this. Check out this man in the cave.
Content while I'm at work or gaming at home.
Deep below all those tourists, there's Miller, trying to free Floyd. Alright, a little bit of setup. Floyd, Miller, some remaining rubble, rock. For anyone to lift the rock by hand would be impossible because Floyd's body obstructs the hole. Miller grabs a crowbar and shoves it through the gap. Now he's going to lever it off Floyd's foot. Cool. The crowbar is now wedged against the rock. Next, he takes a jack. He positions it on top of the crowbar. So
also, at this point, like, he probably is like a skinnier man than he once was. You know what I'm saying? He's probably like a smaller person.
That it will be forced against the ceiling. However, problem. That jack is too big.
You can't jack gravel.
It doesn't fit. Miller yells up the tunnel for a smaller one, but this took some time. And when it arrived, too small. Won't reach the ceiling. But instead of sending for another one, Miller takes 2 blocks of wood and bolsters them underneath the crowbar. Right, so the
It's been 4 days? Dog, you think you can... Wait, no it hasn't. It has only been 4 days? I thought this was like a week at least. What do you mean 4 days? Oh, it's hour 108. Oh my God. I thought it was like at least a week. Okay, you still can lose a lot of fucking weight in 4 days, especially... Bro, they're feeding him like 4 hot dogs a day and coffee. What the fuck do you mean? But even then... You thought 75 hours was a week? No, I wasn't paying attention. I'm actually kind of surprised that news traveled so fucking fast.
Dua Lipa, Sag.
Like, the way he described the story made it seem like it was happening over the course of 1 week. At least. They had telegraph, they had wires. No, dude, I know it's not the Wild West, dog, but like the entire country was paying attention to this in 4 days. That's crazy.
Lil.
They mentioned it being in the news for a week. That's where that came from. Yeah, I feel like he did mention that.
Crowbar now sits higher, it fulcrums against the blocks, and the jack is sitting on top. All Miller has to do is expand the jack, which he will do using this spanner, holding it at the very tips of his fingers. Sounds easy. It's not. But that's the plan. Let's get him out of there. He turned the wrench, the jack expanded, and the crowbar took strain. The whole thing slid apart with a pang. Floyd wasn't hurt, but Miller was contorting and exerting his whole body from back to fingertip. They tried again. Same result. Miller tried a new angle. Maybe this time. The jack pressed. The tension increased. And this time, the rock moved. It fucking moved. With each turn.
Bro, they should have just jammed that thing directly into his leg and cut it off at that point. Straight up. Like, there's no leg recovery at that point. You either survive and you're one-legged like a pirate, or you're just not. You know? What the fuck are they doing?
The stone shifted a little more. Miller's hands shook with adrenaline, his face and body dripping with sweat. Pang. One of the blocks slipped, and the wooden tower went sideways. The rock painfully slammed back down on Colin's foot.
You'll get it next time, Miller. Try again.
Miller did. Again. And again. Adding blocks, taking them away, new crowbar position, change the jack position, every angle.
How do you think they amputate the foot at this point? Like, bro, please come on. Dude, what do you mean? I don't understand how they don't amputate the foot. If they cut his foot off, he'd be smaller, so he could live to fit in smaller cavusies.
But I'm sure that it ended up being no big deal. Oh, the best.
I feel like, does he even have blood going to his feet at this point? You know what I mean? Like, homie's had that thing on his leg for 4 days. Yo, sometimes I take a poop for like 20 minutes, okay? And I lose feeling in my foot, okay? This motherfucker's been down there for 4 days with a 20, 30-pound weight on his leg. Like, it's gone already. You know what I mean? Like...
All while Floyd was there, cheering him on.
Yay.
For the next 4 hours he tried. No progress. Miller was exhausted. He couldn't do this on his own, but he was the only one slim enough to get in through the gap. The group decided to concede for now and return to the surface. They would take just a small break, but it looked to everyone like there was a clear way to get this man out. So Miller and Burden crawled back through the mud and the whines of the cave. As they made their way through, the cave was visibly sagging. The ceiling seemed lower. Parts were harder to navigate than before, especially now with their bruised and purple hands. But they made it outside to the fresh, early morning air. And here is where they're greeted with a new sight. Dozens of soldiers. The National Guard had arrived. In addition to the National Guard, a new figure was joining the story, Henry Carmichael. Now, Carmichael was the general superintendent of the Kentucky Rock Asphalt Company. He had been on site since Tuesday, and he was appalled.
Oh, I got it. He's there to call he's there to call Miller a pedophile. That's it. I was waiting for this moment because, like, you have to have like a rich guy come in and call one of the people who is making an earnest attempt a pedophile and then get away with it. I assume this is the moment, right? Like, he's going to go in there and be like, you're a pedophile, fuck you, after making like a fake attempt.
How primitive the rescue attempts had been. Shortly after Miller and co. had exited, Carmichael sent 2 men into Sand Cave to assess the structure's stability. They soon came back with a report. It was not good. Near the final squeeze, large cracks had formed. The ceiling was beginning to droop. Alright, so the following is a recounting of events from one of Carmichael's men, Casey Jones. Casey and another worker spent about an hour in the cave, surveying its condition, looking at the boards, the ceiling, the stability of the walls. He continued deeper towards Floyd. He was fighting against his nerves. The shifting of the rock pinged his every instinct to flee. But he heard Collins moaning ahead. so he pushed himself on. He managed to make it through the squeeze and he arrived at the 10-foot pit. Seeing Floyd trapped, he tried to ignore the pebbles that were tumbling behind him.
Please, come down.
I can't right now, Floyd, but I will when I get back.
Behind Casey, his partner is begging to leave. Below Casey, Collins is pleading for help.
Please, I'm so thirsty.
Watching Hasan and will uninstall it as soon as he leaves.
Casey slid headfirst into the pit and hastily ladled Floyd some coffee. Floyd...
Dude, fuck yes. Oh, are you dehydrated? Let me get you some fucking coffee, mate.
rejected it. Rumbling intensified from above, and in that moment, Casey realized that this was not a plea for sustenance. Floyd knew that a cave-in was inevitable. Scared and approaching his 5th day trapped, he was completely at his wit's end. He knew he was about to be trapped in that cave, and he didn't want to be trapped alone.
For God's sake, Casey, come on, you'll get us killed.
Stay with me, please. Don't leave.
Casey looked into Colin's eyes, set the coffee down, and pulled himself out of the pit.
No, they
He
gotta
wiggled
kill him.
underneath the sagging ceiling and crawled towards the turnaround room as fast as his limbs could scramble against the cave walls. He looked back to see the passage closing like a maw. Reflections from the bulb shining around Floyd's neck were no longer visible. Instead, just sobs could be heard, muffled from behind the rock.
That's fucking crazy. Is this a true story? Yes. They should have mercy killed him.
Miller and Burden awoke in the late morning, confident that today would be the day that they saved Floyd. They had some new equipment too. Some wire to wrap around the wooden blocks to prevent them from slipping. And they changed their mind about that acetylene torch.
Dog! I want to give a quick fuck you to every single motherfucker in the chat that was like, tools were not invented in the state of Kentucky in the first, 24 hours of them trying to do this excavation thing, okay? Y'all made it seem like motherfuckers were coal mining with their fingers, okay? I just want to point out, you made it seem like they were straight up mining and excavating with their fucking fingers, dude. Or wait, did they just invent it? Did they just invent it on that day, you think?
They'll use it to burn away 2 rocks that had previously blocked their way. But when Miller got to the turnaround room, all of that optimism left him. The entrance to the squeeze was now just a pile of debris. Miller froze, staring at it for a long while. Then he sighed and did the only thing he could think, attempt to move some of the stones. But each adjustment led to more rock.
Bro, Miller loves this man almost as much as his brother does. Respect to Miller, dude. The only good journalist.
Just tumbling down and landing in that space. He persisted until... crash. A large chunk of clay landed onto his feet.
Spoke too soon.
Recognizing the danger, Miller returned to the surface. 15 minutes later, he emerged from the cave with a bloodied up nose and bruises down his back and shoulders. Burden caught sight and races over to him. Miller just says, "For God's sake, just don't let Homer or anyone else back in there."
Thanks for the memories,
Now,
Hasan.
he didn't actually need to worry about Homer going back in there because he was sidelined with illness. But he did, however, need to worry about Gerald, because he was furious. Gerald had warned everyone that putting dozens of people in Sand Cave would cause a collapse. It certainly did. The rest of that day would be wasted, as men threw blame around and screamed at each other about how to handle the cave-in. And Floyd...
They were also screaming about how to handle the top of the hour ad break. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 60-second ad break. And if you no longer want to see those fucking ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5, or you can do for fucking free. For the Twitch Prime, that is. Or you can get gifted a fucking sub, mate. Right. Yeah, Thomas fucking Shelby, yeah. It's alright. It's fucking alright. This is literally 1900s Twitch. Yeah, no, straight up. Cyber Ferret 2, thank you for the 5 gifted.
A hunk that a fat guy like me can look up to.
Okay, what's the bot say? What does the bot say? Let's hear it. Stop rating my performance. What does the bot say? Spice ice. It hasn't said anything yet.
2 years
It
of
hasn't said
brain rot
anything
has.
yet. Stop rating my performance with 1 out of 10. You need to be honest. You need to be honest. You need to be fucking honest, mate. Here's the 1 minute ad break now. People that like randomly stumble upon my streams are probably so fucking confused whenever I do stuff like this.
My brain has finally broken from the lib brain rot. I now love Kamala Harris. Please help.
Spent the rest of that day alone. The surveyors continued checking the cave throughout the day. By the evening, Carmichael had ordered everyone to an assembly. Gerald took the floor. He was going to try one last daring rescue. He boldly announced his plan and an ultimatum.
Listen up.
Love it here.
There's death down there. The walls and ceilings are crumbling. Unless you're determined to take the biggest chance you ever took in your life, tell me now and stay outside.
Next, they told all the Gawkers to get the fuck out of the cave, clear off. And over the next 8 hours, Gerald would enter and leave Sand Cave at least 5 times, chipping away at that pile of debris. In the woods, men sawed trees and chopped logs to shore up the cave walls. Underground, the crew reinforced cracks and wobbling boulders with fresh strips of wood. Gerald assessed that about 4 barrels of rocks would need to be moved, and piece by piece, they made that happen. Steadily, they managed to move enough rock to allow Gerald to get within earshot of Floyd.
Hey, hello? I need food.
Bad news. We can't reach you. But hold on. We're coming.
Stone by stone, they continued.
Holy fuck. Top of the hour bot. 448 chatters rated this ad segue an average of what the fuck? Incredible, Hossie. Hoggers. That was a crazy debate.
Continued. After a few hours, the light of the bulb around Floyd's neck was peeking through. A couple more hours, enough room for Gerald to squeeze through.
Okay, that's enough. Floyd, I'm going for now. But when I
It's gonna be really sad when he just like get him out and then he dies immediately after.
get back, I'm gonna get you out of there.
Exhausted but still determined, Gerald crawled back up the cave and marched to the men huddling outside.
Gather the equipment, and in an hour's time, it's gonna be me and Floyd coming out of that cave.
Gerald entered Sand Cave for his final time. The walls had been reinforced, but mud and water was accumulating everywhere. He waded through it and pressed on past the danger of the sagging ceiling. With determination on his face and a grease gun clutched in his right hand, he scrambled towards Floyd. But before the final squeeze, he stopped. It was all gone. The cave ceiling had crumbled once again. Gerald stared motionlessly at the pile. Then he began to yell.
Floyd!
A rock disconnected from the ceiling and tumbled onto Gerald's head. Luckily, just a small one. He rubbed his scalp and called out again.
Floyd!
This time, a moan. It rumbled from the other side. Fearing that his friend was slipping out of consciousness, Gerald willed himself against the cave, launching the debris behind him with force. He ignored the pain from being struck on the head and clawed at the stone pile. He carried on this way for several minutes, until a sharp, heavy rock dropped from the ceiling and landed squarely on his back. No more than 15 minutes later, Gerald returned to the surface, defeated. Only after the
GG's.
cave-ins did they
GG
start to
Nori.
think about all of the things that they could have done.
Wait, why didn't we rig a portable telephone line? That would have been incredibly simple here in 1925.
Yeah, why have we been running in and out to deliver updates?
Why didn't we give him an AM radio? He could have had something to listen to and receive messages of support from the public.
Wait, why don't we rig up a tarpaulin so we could lift his torso up so he wouldn't be slowly dying of exposure?
Oh god, why didn't we run a feeding tube? That's also a technology we have in 1925.
All too late. Now what? the one route to get...
Not a single one said, why didn't we give him water? Why do we keep feeding him sausage sandwiches and coffee and whiskey and milk?
1 week in the
to
cave
Floyd
equals 1 year
is
sub.
closed.
Fucking, like I said, man, Kentucky, they invented fried chicken, and then everything else since then has just been a major L. They took L after L after L.
Forever. That meant two options. Number one, capitulation. Surrender him to the cave. Or number two, dig down from directly above Floyd. Now, the prospect of digging from above seemed almost fanciful. At least, it did in the beginning. But luckily, they had some help. Owing to Miller's reporting, Floyd had become practically the most famous person in the country. The rescue had become a high priority for the governor of Kentucky. Lieutenant General Denhart enters the scene. He's been updated on the situation, and
by the way, I just want to point out, multiple people in this chat, time and time again, every time I brought the water up, I was looking at chat, said, dude, they didn't have filtration. Brother, did they not know how to fucking boil water? Is that unironically the argument that you're making? Like, they just did not know that you could boil water in 1925? I don't know why chat kept saying this. Read the blurb. What do you mean?
Yo.
Chat is literally so dumb. It was the fucking 20s. Your grandma was getting fucked so hard back then. Oh, this one. Lieutenant Governor Henry Denhart. He'll go on to murder his girlfriend, Verna Taylor. He's brought the trial, but the results is a hung jury. Before his retrial, Verna's brothers tracked him down and shot him to death. They were all acquitted. What the fuck?
following shortly behind him is a small army.
Just Kentucky things, dude.
Of miners and engineers. He declared to the despondent crowd, "Gentlemen, I am here on behalf of the governor. The purse strings of Kentucky are open. Take this blank check and bring that man out alive." Floyd, in that cold, wet confine, could not have imagined the scale of the operation that was going on 55 feet above him. Authorities assumed control of Colin's rescue. Denhart gave Henry Carmichael the lead to dig, and Carmichael raced to get to work. He enlisted his employees, his fleet of expensive high-tech machinery. Professional groups were brought in from all across the state. Local townspeople were mostly excluded, and for the first time since Collins had been trapped, work was now about to go ahead in a systematic manner. Everyone knew the plan, everyone had something to do, and everyone was working fast. But just as hopes were rising, they were once again dashed against the rocks. They had all of this state-of-the-art machinery shipped in and assembled by the engineers and rearing to go, and it was all worthless. See, the problem is, the cave drew air into it. These diesel-powered engines pumped out enormous volumes of choking exhaust. Within a day's operation, the cave would be filled with carbon monoxide.
Wait. If the cave is drawing air into it, doesn't that mean that there's another hole out there? On the other side?
Let's go.
Implying that
Love
they
your
could have,
cheers.
like, probably tried to figure out that there's another entry point? Or does it work the exact opposite way?
And Floyd would be dead from asphyxiation. Just as quickly as solutions would arise, the cave would parry them away. It refused to let this man go. So engineers and miners had wasted hours assembling everything, only to realize that they had to pack it all up and cart it away. Because the digging of a 55-foot shaft would be done with picks and shovels. Carmichael didn't know much about caves, but he knew a lot about quarrying, and he estimated that his team of 75 volunteers could dig and dredge at a rate of 2 feet per hour. If they worked around the clock, they would be digging directly into the spot where Floyd lays within 30 hours. Now, is it possible that Floyd could survive for another...
Wait, wouldn't that like unsettle the rock system
30
and then
hours?
Possibly collapse on him?
Absolutely. Let's go. The first ton was moved, and at first it was easy work. Just dirt and clay. Carmichael understood well that this was a race against time, so he watched the men closely, and if they seemed to be slowing down, even a little, they would be yanked out and immediately a new worker subbed in. Nonetheless, the pace slowed. By 10 feet, the shaft narrowed greatly, which meant that only 2 men could work at a time. At 15 feet, they hit boulders. Pickaxes went in, and a system of pulleys and buckets had to be used to cart the rock out. Tracks were even laid to ferry the refuse to a dump site. Time passed. Hours passed. Night went to day. The day was hot. This was yet another problem, because it's early February, there's tons of ice still in the ground, and its exposure to the fresh midday sun meant that the walls of the shaft were softening and the ground becoming sodden. The pace of digging slowed. It was now only half a foot per hour. Most anyone could do was watch helplessly on the sidelines and pray. Interestingly, though, there were a lot of people on the sidelines. Floyd wouldn't have believed that the space above him had turned into a literal carnival in his honor. Vendors showed up to sell hamburgers, hot dogs, and souvenirs. Families sprawled out over blankets to listen to hymns from local church groups. The local mountebank sold moonshine and miracle cures. There was even a bloody juggler. And Old Man Lee was there, walking around, shaking his jar, and soliciting donations. But
there's nothing more American than developing cottage industries for like any sort of crisis, okay? When others see crisis, an American sees opportunity.
Homer and Burden and Miller during all of this. Okay, let's back up a bit. People did not properly understand exactly how Floyd was trapped, and the news didn't help much either. So the obvious question started to arise. Why hasn't he been rescued yet? Just clear some gravel or pull a rope. How is this so hard? Motive was attributed.
I heard they didn't even want to have him rescued at all.
I heard that they're doing all of this for publicity.
And Lee's activity of soliciting donations, remember from before, further inflamed rumors.
I bet Floyd isn't even trapped in there.
These were all real rumors, and they got worse.
You know what? I've heard he comes out at night, and then he just goes back in the morning.
Other rumors included,
I heard that after Floyd went into the cave, someone murdered him.
Another America moment, or rather a Reddit moment. This is the most Reddit story. This is a pre-Reddit story. It's just like, once something gets to, like, once any person or any issue reaches, like, the terminal velocity, it is inevitable that people will start hating on him, okay? No one has been able to evade this. I call it the Jack Harlow effect, okay? Jack Harlow got too famous for his own good, and immediately everybody started eating his ass in the QRTs. And that's exactly what's going on in this situation as well. This motherfucker didn't even ask.
It's been a hell of a run.
This motherfucker didn't even ask to be this famous. He just got caught in the rookie hole. Okay?
Others said,
I think they're withholding food and water from him so he dies.
This whole thing is a fraud.
As time went on, it was harder and harder to ignore the hoax claims. Then, people started to form righteous mobs, claiming the whole thing was a fraud, and they started to get nasty. In fact, 2 people even went to the telegraph office and pretended to be Floyd.
By the way, this kind of means that, like, even without Facebook, you still had this shit. Word of mouth was enough for people to just unironically create brigades and false victimhood narratives, crisis actor narratives. Like, it's just an American thing. I don't even know if you can get ahead of it at this point. Turns out it was us. We are the problem.
Sending telegrams to his mother. Here's what it said. Quote, "Please contradict statements that I am buried alive in Sand Cave. Stop. Tell mother I am all right. Stop. Am coming home. Stop. Floyd Collins." Naturally, the AP published these telegrams unquestioningly, and now word is out to the press that he isn't actually in the cave after all.
Fake news!
That made the authorities look foolish, and it could not go on. So, a hasty court-martial was arranged, and Homer, Miller, and Gerald were summoned. They hold one session on Monday and another on Tuesday. Lee and everyone else is cleared of charges, a retraction is written, and things carry on.
I am so fucking invested
Generators
in this
rumbled.
story.
Pumps churned out water. Men continued working in shifts and carrying away the earth. Here they are with strips of lumber to shore up the walls. They were only 25 feet down. The pace had slowed to 4 inches per hour. In their desperation, they resorted to dynamite, but this did little to the boulders. Despite all these bleak circumstances, people's spirits were high, because everyone was keen for their turn to dig, and because they had one more thing to latch onto. He is probably still alive. Now, how do they know that? Okay, so remember that light bulb around Floyd's neck? Well, it's powered by a simple copper wire. Bare copper wire is subject to very minute fluctuations in resistance. So, an engineer rigs up a radio amplifier to this wire to read the current and see those small fluctuations. There they were. About 20 per minute, the rate of steady breathing. As his chest expands and contracts, they can read it from this device. And so, they kept going. And going.
Thank you for all
And
you
going.
do. Has.
30 hours was the original estimate. Now 144 hours had come and gone, and they were only at 44 feet. Then, rain
I was wrong about the Minecraft thing. Apparently, you are supposed to dig down. I was wrong about that.
fell. Rain that mixed with dirt to make mud, much of which then froze to make ice.
Oh no.
Ice which expanded and damaged the integrity of the shaft walls. Slowing down with every hour, they continued. Many more hours passed, and they were getting close. But it was now 15 days since Floyd was first stuck in that cave, and people had mostly lost hope. That excitement in the newspapers was tempering down. Visitors...
Bro, even back then, the news cycle died at a certain point. 15 days is what it took? That's kind of crazy to suspect. That, like, people were just like... That's kind of crazy that they just fucking ended the news cycle. I thought, like, because they're so bored, it would go on for way longer.
Began clearing out from Cave City. Many still held on to hope, but their final lifeline, that light bulb, had burnt out. And it wasn't possible to do any more readings on the radio amplifier without it. No one knew if Floyd was still alive. Another 51 hours would pass before...
They were like, damn, bro, racism is way more fun than this, and, like, we don't need to be as invested. So they went back to racism.
Finally, they reached the 60-foot depth.
I'm in! Chisel!
A chisel is handed down. At 1:30 p.m. on Monday, February 16th, Sand Cave would open once again. For 17 days, Floyd had been trapped underground, stuck in the same position.
He's just a shadow
4
at that
days
point.
without heat or light. 12 without food or water. But maybe the dripping of the cave water had provided him with some sustenance?
No, that's water. It's a Kentuckian's nightmare, dude. It'll kill you. That's why they kept giving him fucking coffee and sausage sandwiches and whiskey, dude.
There are stories of people surviving harsher extremes. Rescuers frantically tugged at rocks to widen the hole. Everybody stood by, absolutely silent, peering into that hole. Ed flashed his light into the gap, then eased himself in. Brenner aimed his light around the room, and then, finally, at Floyd. The first thing he saw was a golden shimmer. It was not the light bulb. It was the reflection of Floyd's tooth. His mouth hung open.
Oh,
he was dead.
He dead.
Brenner was helped out of the cave and he delivered the news.
Dead.
A coroner would later state that Floyd succumbed to exposure and that they had missed him by just 3 days. About the same...
Okay, bro. I mean, dude, they missed him, okay? It wasn't a near miss, okay? I'm just saying, 3 days? Okay, he fucking died then. It's not like they missed him by 3 hours. They missed him by 3 days. You missed. You swung and you fucking missed. That's not... Yeah, there was a major whiff, okay?
Time that the light bulb had gone out. But what would they do now with the body? The shaft walls were ready to fall inwards, and risking lives to remove a corpse was seen as just irresponsible.
Blow it up, dude. America, baby. What do you mean? Blow it up, turn it into a tourist attraction, make Homer make some money off this shit. R.I.P., but like, come on.
So the following morning, officials made a decision. Floyd would be entombed where he lay. The cave would keep its victim. Now, this did not sit well with the family, but what could they do? The next day, they planned the funeral. The town emptied of people, and the shaft with Floyd at the bottom was refilled with soil. But that's not quite the end of the story. If you hung on for this long, keep holding on, because things are going to continue to get interesting.
What?
But first, let me do a wrap-up of where everyone is and all that stuff. Context. The Collins family already had financial hardship. Locals saw Old Man Lee scouring the rescue site for glass bottles. But the owner of the land, B. Doyle, and supposed friend of Floyd, was wholly unsympathetic. He erected a sign on the highway which said, 200 yards away, the body of Floyd Collins.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. Let's go. Capitalism.
Then he began charging tourists 50 cents apiece for the opportunity to gander in.
Also, this is a missed opportunity. Like, they should have been doing this while he was alive. They should have been doing this while he was alive to, like, get him to talk to Floyd and shit. Then you could have charged them more than 50 cents. You could have charged them $1 apiece.
The hole. It's 100 years later. B's dead. Let's call it even. Also, remember those claims of Kentucky being an open purse? Well, the state reneged on the deal. They refused to pay many of the rescuers, and most of them went home without any compensation. What? Some of them did make some money out of the situation, though. They lucked into vaudeville gigs and roamed the country, giving their first-person account. Miller, however, received an astonishing offer, a $50,000 contract from the Chautauqua Lecture Circuit, equivalent to the better
$810,000 in 2022 money. That's crazy.
part of $1 million in today's money. He declined. He continued to work at the Louisville Courier-Journal.
Dude, what is up with this guy? He's like the last honest journalist in America, and then everything went downhill. That's crazy. He declined 50 grand.
The following year, his coverage of Floyd's story earned him the Pulitzer Prize. Now the brother, Homer, he needed money and he agreed to do that vaudeville circuit. He stood on stage and regaled the audience about tales of his brother, their childhood, and the tragedy. But Homer made it known why he was up here on stage trying to get money. He had a mission.
I kept thinking of Floyd lying in the muck, where he had suffered beyond our power to imagine. I would never have peace of mind if he remained there.
He wanted the money to dig Floyd up and get him out of that cave. A couple of months later, he had it. All right, so back to Floyd.
Okay, GoFundMe, by the way. I'm just saying we have all of these things. We've had all of these things in place. We still have all of those things. Nothing has changed. America is still permanently in 1925 Kentucky. That's crazy. Gonna move on from that. Let's keep going.
April 17th, 1925. 7 miners showed up to the scene. They began to dig. Within a week, they had arrived at Floyd. And this time, they approached from the other side of the rock formation. That way, they could remove the rock pinning Floyd's leg. They lifted him up from his tomb and laid him down on the fresh air.
I'm going to retweet it.
Above. April 26th, 1920.
You're going to get banned, by the way, for that, anti-piker. Most likely. I should probably not retweet it because you might get banned. Fucking fake news, brother.
25. Floyd was set to rest in the family cemetery. A stalagmite had been set as a headstone to mark out his plot. And there he lay. No, that's not actually where it ends. Okay, this is where it gets weird. 2 years later, 1927. Times have been tough for the Collins. So Floyd's...
Wait. Sorry.
1925. Floyd was set to rest in the family cemetery. A stalagmite had been set as a headstone to mark out his plot. And there he lay. No, that's not actually where it ends. Okay, this is where it gets weird. 2 years later, 1927. Times have been tough for the Collins. So Floyd's dad sold Sand Cave to a dentist named Dr. Harry B. Thomas for $10,000. Now, Homer begged him not to, because at the time, the government was starting to buy up tons of land in the area and turn it into national parks. They had to pay at a very competitive rate. But Lee was becoming a bit old and senile by this point, and frankly, it's doubtful that he cared about Homer or Floyd or anyone else for that matter. It's 100 years later, he's dead now, let's call it even. So, the point is, in this land sale with Thomas, Lee agreed to a very odd clause. And that clause said, everything on that property belongs to Thomas. And should he wish, for example, to exhume a dead body and re-embalm it and put it on display in something really tacky like a glass coffin inside a cave, maybe, then that would be his prerogative. Lee signed, yes. And Thomas did exactly that. Doyle made Floyd's corpse a tourist attraction. That's right.
Okay, we're back to being boring. We're back to people so bored that they're doing unimaginable things, okay? Unimaginable cruelty. The value of life is lower than it has ever been. What the fuck? Content was unhinged in the 1920s, man. They were just like, fuck it. Look at this dead body. Come check it out.
2 bits of gander, come and wonder at the incredible dead man who died in a cave. But to add insult to injury, it worked. Visitors returned to Sand Cave to gawk morbidly at Floyd. Within a few months, Thomas had turned Lee's failing farm into a successful business. Now, the rest of Colin's family is horrified. They try a number of times to get Floyd returned to them, including through the legal system. But somehow, incredibly, the judge ruled...
I love that, dude. Contract law is so fucking open and shut. It's just like they're siding with capital at that point. They're like, nope, that's just business. You sold off the body, my friend.
In Thomas's favor. And so, there he lay for the next 2
I think
years.
to meet my parents finally.
The cave was not done with Floyd. Until someone hatched a plan.
Okay, to be fair, there is a very important moral here, and that is just don't do caving. Okay? Don't do caving, not even once. Don't even do it in Minecraft, okay? Just stop going into caves. I will never go into a cave. I'm promising to you right now, I'm not going in a cave. Fuck no, okay? It doesn't even sound cool. It's called spelunking, dude. That shit is like such a red flag. Nothing so dangerous has sounded so fucking whack. Oh, look at me. I'm going spelunking. No, dude. Fuck no. You don't even sound cool when you say it. You are not dying, risking your life on doing an activity that, as a chatter correctly pointed out, sounds like a poop hitting the fucking toilet water inside of the toilet bowl. Oh, I died while I was doing spelunking, dude. That's crazy. Why would you ever do such a thing?
2 years later, it's midnight, outside Sand Cave. Footsteps can be heard rustling through the brush. Now, we don't know who these two men are, but we know why they are here. To rob a grave. They sneak inside and clamber over the rocks in the darkness. Reaching Floyd's casket, they undo the latch and throw open the lid. There is his shriveled body. They throw him in a gunny sack and they race off into the night. For 800 yards they carry dear Floyd like a couple of sweaty Santas about to deliver a really terrible Christmas present. Panting, out of breath, knowing that they're going to get caught any minute, they reach the Kentucky Green River hillside. There's no time. With a 1, 2, 3, they launch his body towards the river, and Floyd goes sailing into the air, up,
what?
Into the starlit beyond, and landing in a bush. Oh, God. The two men flee from the scene. Now, the next morning, Thomas notices that the body of Floyd is somewhat missing, and he contacts the authorities. The police come, they dust the casket for fingerprints, and bloodhounds are given Floyd's scent.
These motherfuckers have fingerprints back then? That's crazy. Wait, I don't understand. I thought they did 0 crime scene investigations back then, where it was like, that's why like in the 60s, you could just like do serial killer shit, like nonstop. No fucking way, dude. No DNA evidence, but fingerprinting they're doing for a stolen corpse.
And let loose into the hillside. A few hours later, they managed to find him, a tangled up mess near the river. But this time, with a leg missing, that same one that was trapped under the rock. So, despite his protest, it had been amputated. Neither the leg nor the culprits were ever found. And while it would be nice to think that this was some well-intentioned duo that did this out of the kindness of their hearts to free Floyd, it's much more likely that it was an act of vandalism because Floyd was simply too much of a hot tourist attraction. The following day...
Bro, the competitive caving industry in Kentucky was no joke, dude. The cave mafia, they were going crazy, okay? They were doing unimaginable things, man. Holy fuck. Including desecrating a dead body.
Floyd was cast back into the cave. Back into his box. And it was covered by a metal lid, surrounded by a metal chain, and locked with a padlock. He was now more trapped than he had ever been. This cave had spun fate once again to make sure that its victim would never leave.
How was he not just bones? They embalmed him. They literally fucking they pulled a Lennon on his ass. They like basically, you know, they turned him into a walking attraction.
And so, time passed. Floyd's body would continue to decay. The rot from his body would eventually rot the casket too, and every decade or so, it would need to be replaced. A few years later, he was no longer on display. But even then, he remained in that box for many more years. In 1961, Floyd...
Bro, this shit happens to me. I'm haunting the fuck out of everybody, okay? 7 generations minimum. I'm coming back. First, I'm doing quirky little things like, ooh, you just misplaced your keys. I'm one of those like whimsical ghosts, okay? And then later down, I get more and more vicious. Day in, day out, dude, okay? First, oh, you lost your keys. Guess what? Now I'm like moving stuff around the house. You're like, what the fuck? Oh my God, it's a ghost. Okay. And then I'm starting to drop large items on top of people's heads while they're sleeping. Final Destination style. Okay. Full-time job, dude. I'm not going to heaven. God could be like, hey, Hasan, we're sending you to heaven. I'd be like, nah, dude. I got some unfinished business down here. I am so fucking vindictive, dude. You don't understand, okay? I'm dropping anvils on motherfuckers' heads and shit. No fucking shot. I'm gonna sit there for 7 fucking generations cursing every child that comes out of that fucking family. Yes, back in the 20s, God had a mid-Atlantic accent. That was what the accent was for everyone. That's just how God spoke back then. It was like, oh, it's crazy. Hasan, come up to heaven. We welcome you. I was like, nah, fuck that.
Floyd's Cave was purchased by Mammoth Cave National Park, and it was closed to the public. There would be no more visitors. The entrance itself to Floyd's Cave was closed with a steel gate and bolted, then welded shut. But the Collins family never gave up objecting to Collins' body being left in the cave. And here is where the story ends. In 1989, at the Collins' request, the National Park Service ventured into Floyd's Cave. Continuing on a more than 60-year tradition, a team of people worked over the course of several days to remove him from the cave. They took him out, left the cave, locked it behind them, and laid Floyd to rest at the Mammoth Cave Baptist Church Cemetery. After 64 years in Sand Cave, he is now finally at peace.
Is he?
End.
Is he though? Because I don't think he's at peace, man.
Thank
That's
you
crazy.
to Wendigoon as Floyd.
If you don't let me out, I'm going to hire a gang of hitmen to come to your house and kill your family.
Samito as Homer.
The BTS meal McDonald's bag that has
I'm
McDonald's
hungry.
And BTS. Shut the fuck up and eat some BTS, bro.
Ordinary Things as Miller.
I'm enthusiastic, but would ultimately duck out the back exit.
Rusty Cage as Gerald.
Wait. Ordinary Things is the only person I've ever seen wear a VR headset and not look like he's crying. How is he capable of doing such a feat? Very, very impressive. I've worn those things before. Every time I put it on, it's like, meh, it looks like I'm crying, like I got the crying filter on.
But would ultimately duck out the back exit.
Rusty Cage as Gerald.
Oh, well, hello there. Haven't seen y'all in a while. Welcome to my new home.
And many kudos as Burden.
Hey, buddy. You right down there?
I can.
You little sleepy?
I can. Yeah.
We get your coffee?
Cold and
Little cup of Joe? Little cup of Joseph?
I'm starting.
Cup of Joseph from a little sleepy guy?
Also, by the way, in case you're confused about the channels, this is how it works now. And do not forget, World of Tanks.
Wait, what?
This is how it.
Internet historian, scripted content, incognito mode, unscripted, story mode, different content. Wait, have you not seen Murdoch Mysteries? Ludwig literally plays a cop in it? What? So the channels do this in stream? No, man, I'm not doing.
I move myself just like this and curl up in a ball. And then
That's a lot
I need to move my butt behind me so my head remains in front. If this rock would move. Stupid rock. There we go. Just like this. Right? Woo! You're right, this is the worst death.
Why can't I?
John Jones, move forward, move my butt behind, like this. You see? And then you move your legs behind.
Balls to the wall, halal.
No, thank you. Nope. Not touching that. Dude, white people need to go to war. I said it already. They need to go to war. They need like something to occupy them, bro. What the fuck is this?
Behind you. And you successfully.
I'm telling you, we just gotta. You gotta keep him busy. You have to keep him busy. Otherwise, they're gonna do shit like this, and it's crazy.
Hard.
Bruh, played the video. I play video games on good. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm so good on that, dude. I'm so good on all of this. I mean, straight up. That was a great video by the internet historian, #1 on trending right now, Man in the Cave. What a fucking crazy banger, dude. That was an hour long. And originally I was going to play some fucking Valorant, but I'm so tired, dude. I don't know if I can. Like, I feel like if I did. Tubbo's in the chat, too. Now I feel bad. I feel like he was just, like, waiting. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's the nutty fuddy.
In the Florida,
Wait,
if you're
what is it?
located in the Florida area, stay home. Do not.
It's not safe, guys. It's not safe. Oh, I love you guys. Stay safe. Stay safe, guys.
Wait, I gotta make sure you get home. I gotta make sure you get home, bro.
I'm home, bro.
Hey Kai, just sending this donut to let you know this.
We good.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus fucking Christ.